Coastal erosion is one of the big problems in Samoa nowadays, especially with the effects of climate change when we have the sea level rise and most of the low-lying places without proper protection.
You know this village, the river at the back and the sea in front of the house. Then when the river and the sea comes together, we hit the houses. No one can survive.
After the cyclone, most of the taro plants were washed by the river. They all went to the sea.
Before, people was used to live down here. This is their mainland, where all the churches and all the families are. But because of the difficulties of the climates, people were thinking that the sea will ruin everything.
Exacerbated by climate change, coastal erosion is threatening the livelihoods of Samoan communities residing in the coastal zone, which is almost all of them, as coastal living is inextricably linked to the Samoan way of life, with many families living a subsistence lifestyle that depends on close proximity to the sea for their most basic needs.
First thing is they want to live near the sea where they can get food, especially fish and seashells. Yeah, not only for the food, but to sell.
If you have not enough money, you depend on the sea and the earth and the ground for the food.
Given that 75% of government assets and residential settlements are all within the coastal zone, having some sort of a coastal protection mechanism in place directly protects them.
Vegetation comprises an integral part of a natural coastal buffer zone. The battering by Cyclone Evan revealed that some species are more resilient than others.
There were other trees like fau. They were washed away by the waves. Yeah, those are the two which remained. The talia.
With the resilience of the talia and other species in mind, the Pacific Adaptation to Climate Change project is using vegetation to strengthen seawalls and protect communities at two pilot sites, Tafitoala in Upolu and Lefagaoalii in Savai'i. The identification of plant species well adapted to the coastal zone is a process that has benefited from community input and traditional agricultural knowledge.
We ask around the local people, the old men and the women in the village, and sought their opinion on what species that were growing there before. We have to find out what kind of plants that can be successfully grown on the coast. It can grow well in the salt affected areas, and that's how we selected those.
It's not like some new introduced species, they were always there. And when we brought it to the communities, they were like, okay, it's widely available already, so we can just sort of like get the seedlings and do the planting.
The forestry provides us with these different kind of trees. This is called fetau in Samoa, and they believe that the roots of this kind of tree will grow deep inside the soil and helps to maintain the soil, to fix the soil and hold the land. This is what we call pulu, just as same class with the fetau. They believe that this is the good one for the coast, and coconuts over there, and as well as the talia, as you see far back there, that's talia. That's the talia over there.
Yeah, we use those mix of species, not only the trees with big roots that can go deeper to firm the soil. There's creating more strength for the seawall. But we also use some other plants that have their roots like spread on the surface that can be able to support the rocks that we use for the seawall.
By successfully combining local agricultural knowledge with cutting-edge sustainable coastal protection infrastructure, PACC is securing the livelihoods of Samoan coastal communities.
I think without the seawall, then there will be much problem happen to us.
If you can really care for your coastal environment, that will be your first line of defense for any kind of disturbance that comes from the coast.
So we have a seawall. So it is very important for us, especially for preserving our land. And that's why we still live here. We still, a lot of people in our church, in our village, still living down here.
PACC is working to help communities adapt to climate change with pilot sites in 14 Pacific Island nations. Supported by the United Nations Development Programme with funding from the Global Environment Facility's Special Climate Change Fund and additional funding from the Government of Australia. PACC is executed by the Secretariat of the Pacific Regional Environment Programme and supported by the United Nations Institute for Training and Research Climate Change Capacity Development Programme, exploring adaptation methods in 3 key areas. PACC is building resilience to climate change.